Welcome back, everybody. My name is G. This is G. Watt, and we are here to talk about episode 3 of the Wheel of Time. This is called Place of Safety. And just like episode 2, it starts off right out the gun. They don't wait at all. We get Nynaeve being dragged through the woods by Mr. Trolloc, gonna make her a little snack or something. And then he sees his buddy who's already hurt and just, he's opportunist. And, hey, it's Thanksgiving time. And he just dives right on it and has at it. So like, all right. Nynaeve uses this moment to make the great escape back to the cave with the spring in it, or the pool. And the Trolloc chases her in. I thought this was a really great scene. I thought the lighting was really good with all that, the nice deep blues. And then she gets right down in the water and makes a few stabs and climbs in. And all of a sudden we get like Nynaeve, Two Rivers, Special Forces, coming out of the water like Rambo, disarms him, takes his own blade and stabs him in the chest in this outrageous, awesome moment, drops into the pool, and all the blood flows up into a beautiful Easter egg of the dragon fang. I thought that was really cool. And then she comes popping up. I thought that was just like this really great scene. And just Nynaeve showing massive strength again, and resourcefulness, just fantastic. And I thought the whole coming up out of the water thing was just so great. Just starting with her braid and the eyes, just that look on her face. Oh, it was just brilliant. So like, what an opening scene, And then we go right to the cut. We go right to the opening weave, and then it goes right back to her with the blade at Lan's throat, where we left off at the end of episode 2. And man, she's just not playing around. Nynaeve is not happy with what's going on. And, so they have this little conversation, and she like totally snuck up on Lan. He's a little surprised. And, he says, how did you find me? He's a little curious about that. Like, how this little backwoods wise woman, wisdom, medicine woman, how'd she find me? This is a little odd. And man, she's just not backing down. She's just standing there holding that blade to his throat. And, and eventually gets up and he says, and he's trying to use all the calm demeanor to deflect, like a magician. He starts standing up like, I'm about to take your sword from you, and then he says, oh, we both know you're not gonna. And man, she rears back and goes to friggin' shank him through the throat. And he just snatches her up and he goes, oh, you actually tried to kill me. And then she bites him. And, at that point, just got to smack her in the back of the head, knock her out, just calm her down. But holy cow, you talk about just being fierce. It's just so fantastic and just pure Nynaeve. That whole interchange was just great. I love Daniel Henney's face when as he's looking at her the whole time and you can see him trying to put 2 to 2 together in his head. It was just, it was fantastic. It was all this little brilliant interplay. It was just so good. And then it cuts away to Mat and Rand, and they're in these mountains above Shadar Logoth and the river. And that scene is just amazing, that landscape, just looking out. But once again, Rand is yelling in the mountains. You can hear it echoing. So they're up there, man, they're going to be hearing that across the river. If those Midral and those Trollocs are still anywhere around, like they're going to come up and chomp on you. That's not like a good tactical decision. But I love Mat. Mat just comes in and he's like, hey, we should stop yelling. I'm sure they're all right. They have this good little moment and, talking about, oh, well, we should go home. And it's so weird that Mat wants to go home. I know he wants to go to his sisters, but I'm accepting it for the show. I'm trying to. He's a little different in the books, and this the new backgrounds with the characters are throwing off the readers a little bit. But we're there with you. Like I'm a viewer too. Like I just want to watch it. I want to see their tale and how they're going to tell it, and so I keep having these little battles between book knowledge and show knowledge. But Mat just keeps outshining. He in the books, he's great as well, but he just has these great stellar moments where they're arguing about different stuff. And Rand says, like, all roads lead to Tarvalon or something. And Matt just so candidly is just like, no, that's not how roads work. And I just died when that moment happens. And once again, man, I just give it to Barney Harris. He's just got such great delivery. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then, we kind of cut to Perrin and Egwene, which really in this episode is sort of my least favorite storyline. And it kind of is, it's that way in the books too. They're just kind of wandering through the Carolyn Grass. They're just trying to make their escape, and it's not super eventful. I do like that they get some interactions with the wolves, and you're always hearing them in the background. And Perrin goes to make the fire and slashes his thumb open, and I don't know why he's all freaking out. Like he really seems to be freaking out trying to light that fire, like more than he should. Like I'm not sure. And then it's great. He slices himself open. He can't get it going. And then Egwene starts doing her little hand mojo. I'm going to try to channel this. And then the fire starts. And you have this great little moment of, hey, was that me or was that you? Hey, if it was you, could you channel us up some food? I just thought that was a brilliant little line. And it really is sort of like one of like those deep thought Perrin moments where he doesn't really come out and say a ton ever, but like when he does, he really does kind of drop knowledge. It's very cool to see. and his own sort of little humor. Like Perrin does have his own humor moments throughout the books, but they're not nearly as plentiful as Matt. Like he's really a lot of the source of the humor, and we absolutely love it. And all the characters are just so different, and it's what makes it so great is all their interactions and how they relate to each other and how they interact with each other. So we get back to Nynaeve and Lan, and Lan's got Nynaeve tied up against a tree and gagged and everything, and it's just like, I don't know what to do with this girl. And he says, hey, if I untie you, you're going to help her and all this. And she's like, no, man, I'm not going to help her unless she tells me what I want her to know. And he's just like, what? You were tied to a tree and you're making demands? And she just flat out just says, no, it's a threat. If she doesn't get help, she's going to die. See anybody else around that can help her? No. You're not going to do anything, sir. You're not going to do anything. So just let me help her. I thought that was really great. And it's not a demand, it's a threat. That part is just so great. And the relationship between Lan and Nynaeve is just this headbutting. It's almost like two bulls just mashing together, and it happens with Moiraine too. And it's just one of the endearing Nynaeve character traits. She's so bullheaded and stubborn, like all the people from Two Rivers, but it's just great. It is just great. And it's cool to see her out gathering up all the herbs and Lan watching her. Like, he's really intently watching her. And like, again, you have to give it to the chemistry between all the actors, because he's really like intent on watching what she's doing. And I don't think it's just so much to make sure she's not going to like poison Moiraine or something, but like he truly is like watching her in awe and sort of respect, because like she really knows her craft, which is really cool. And when he gets back and she's mixing the herbs together and making her poultice or her compress, whatever that is she's making. And right before she gets ready to go juice that wound, she drops some knowledge on Lan and says, hey, I've heard of the bond between, Warders and Aes Sedai, and that you feel what she feels. So, I hope you're ready, because this is going to hurt. And, and the look on Lan's face when she says that is like, it just keeps surprising him, which I think is great, because Lan is always like so stoic and like so stony and like just walking death. And to see him get stonewalled by Nynaeve, like stumbled, is just great. It's just great. And so, yeah, she tells him she knows about the bond, and he's all amazed. And we kind of cut back to, we cut to Perrin. We cut back to Perrin, and we realize he's in the dream, and, and he's sort of walking all in white. And as he's walking, we get the quick 1-2 frame flash of old Fire Eyes. And at that point, you see it and you go, oh, okay, now I know this is a dream. And then one of the wolves, he comes around the corner, and one of the wolves is chowing on the guts of his dead wife, which was, it's a little freaky. I don't know what I was expecting in that dream, but I don't know if I was expecting that. And then all of a sudden we get the quick cut again of old Fire Eyes, and it just makes you jump. Like every time they do that fast cut, you get the, oh, hey, all right, hey. And then they wake up and they realize, oh, crap, the wolves are close. The wolves are really close. They start running. And they're running from them. And it's more like they're hurting them. They're not, like the wolves really aren't trying to catch them. Looks more like they're hurting them over the course of this little run that they're having. And it's interesting little sequence there with them, Perrin and Egwene running with the wolves. It was a nice little sequence. And then it kicks back to Mat and Rand on that big rocky landscape, which is just gorgeous. Just like, man, they really picked some phenomenal locations. And I don't know what's real and what's CGI, but it all looks good. Like, it all looks good. That landscape looked incredible. And Rand makes his joke on Mat, which is pretty funny, about the man who walked a short while being cold because he wouldn't give him his coat. I just thought that was great. And he keeps saying, hey, maybe we can walk downhill for a change instead of uphill. And you get right to the top of the ridge, and they look over, and, oh, hey, look, there's a town. And it's downhill. I thought that was great. So this town is Breen Spring, and it's not in the books. I think it's an amalgamation of several towns and several stops along the way that was cut down and sort of consolidated for the show to expedite it. But I really like the way that they put it all in, like that upper view, and they're up top looking down into that quarry, down into like the lake and the river, with the town set back there with the mines. I thought it was just gorgeous looking. And then as the boys come into the town, it just looks so rugged and dirty and lived in, and and you got the guys out there with the big weights taking, all set aside to weigh all the ore that they're bringing out, and they go into that tavern, and I mean it looks like a sawdust on the floor mining town tavern. And then we get our barmaid, Dana, who takes a liking to the boys. Probably a little older, but, Matt's a little bit of a ladies' man. So, and sure she had eyes for the boys, comes over and talks to him and says, oh, no, just money for, we just have enough for food right now. And that whole little interchange is so great. And she says, oh, hey, look, we have a gleeman. And we get our very first glance of Mr. Tom Maryland, played by Alexander Wilhelm, who I think is doing a fantastic job. My beef, he needs a bigger mustache. That's my only beef. And I know people were saying, oh, I didn't see the Gleeman cloak, but the inside of his jacket is all the patchwork Gleeman cloak. And I thought it looked really cool. I thought it was a great touch. I love that guitar. I play guitar. And I think that having a guitar in the show, especially one that looks like, it looks like a period guitar. It looks like an old Victorian style guitar. I love those little metal braces on the horns and on the bell of the guitar. I thought that was a really nice, like, artistic visual touch for it. almost like he's got a little armor for his guitar. Because if you're going to bang it and crack it, that's where you're going to bang it and crack it, aside from your neck. And I really liked the tune that he played. It is a tune of Luz Theron Telemon, which I thought was really cool, The Man Who Can't Forget. And I did sit down and learn that song. I'll put together just a little video. I'll sit down, I'll grab my guitar, and I'll play the Tom song, The Man Who Can't Forget. I got it just about down, but I want to play it faster than he plays it, and I can't seem to get myself to play it slower. But Tom comes out. Alexander Wilhelm killed it. You know, I thought his voice was great without the guitar. I thought it was really good with the guitar. I hope we get to see a little bit more intricate stuff with him in the future, because I know that Alexander Wilhelm, he plays guitar and he plays well. Like, you can go on YouTube, and you're on YouTube. You can search him and go see some of his stuff, and it's pretty fantastic. So I had a lot of faith in him as Tom. And I liked him in his role in Tomb Raider as well. So I thought he would do a really good job. And I'll tell you, everything that I've seen from so far, I'm totally impressed. My one beef is he's a grittier Tom. And I didn't really like that exchange where the guy bumps Matt and pickpockets him, and then Tom bumps him and pickpockets him, and then pays for his drink out of Matt's coin purse. And I thought that was a little shady and left-handed for Tom, but maybe for the show, you know. I mean, they've changed characters, but that was my really, Tom? Like, man, come on. You know, I always think of Tom as in my headcanon, Tom will always and forever be Sam Elliott, you know. But seeing Alexander Wilhelm as him, it was great. He was great, and he was fantastic every moment he was on screen. And I loved the life lesson. He goes, oh, it's an expensive one. And he says, was it the best ones always are, or something like that. And I thought that was a really cool little statement. If you're going to be a dirty shyster and, you know, pay for your drink out of the dude's purse that was just stolen, that you stole from the guy that stole it. I mean, you know, finders keepers and all, but that was a shady little move, Tom. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. I thought that was a really great little introduction for Tom. Different from the books, a little later than we would have gotten it, but I really liked it. And I like the little changes. Like I said, I like the change that it's guitar and not a harp. I think some little mini harp would just be a little weird. Though I really, really was hoping Tom was going to come over to the table when he sat down with the boys, and, you know, when saying, you know, I think you can do better, go ahead. And Dana comes over and then gives him the drinks. I was really hoping that he was going to be like, you know, it's better in high chant, but they always ask for it in common, you know, in that sort of arrogant Gleeman sort of way. I was really hoping for that, and I hope I at least get to hear that once out of Tom throughout the series. It would make my day. it really would. But again, I think a bigger mustache on Tom. I mean, that is his character trait. I mean, you can change him a little bit, like, just don't character assassinate people. I mean, you don't have to look exactly like it is. It doesn't have to look like it would be in my head. But I think a bigger mustache. I like the light beard and goatee, but I think a thicker stash on him would add to it. Maybe it comes in later. I don't know. And without giving away book stuff, I can't make any funny jokes. So, well, I'm sure I could, but it would give away book stuff, and I don't want to do that. This is for the episodes. We're going to talk only spoilers that are going on in the episode, because I assume that if you came here for a review and a deep dive, that you probably already watched it, or you don't care about spoilers. But I'm not going to give you book spoiler stuff, because that's like kind of rude. That's like kind of rude. So after Dana comes in and gets the boys drinks and Tom's little life lesson on them, we cut back to Perrin and Egwene again, which I know they're moving them along on their storyline, but it's just not my favorite part of the episode. It's just not my favorite storyline. Not in the books, not here. It has great moments in it, and I'm hoping that we'll get to see these in there. But right now, it's just, they're just running and traveling on open ground, and the best parts of it are their little dialogues, and finally, the wolves stop chasing them, and they just stop on a line. And the whole time, it's looked like they've been hurting them, and we get a lot of subtleties and a lot of nuanced stuff and a lot of foreshadowed stuff that's not mentioned, and all these little tiny hidden things. And then, like, they had really Egwene. You had just, it's like they let us here. That was like one of the big letdowns for me. The entire episode is like, just, can you let the viewer like figure it out? I mean, you kind of figure it out. Like, they kind of pushed them along, and as soon as they got there and they stopped, they found the tracks. Like, I think it would have went off better without having Egwene's comment. That was it. I think if they just left it open for us as the reader to see, not like, we didn't need to be told they were leading them there, because if they wanted to eat them, they would have eaten them. You're not outrunning a couple packs of wolves. You're just not, unless you got some secret that I don't know. So yes, they were hurting you. But I felt that it detracted from the whole thing that Egwene had to come and say it. Just my 2 cents on it. But I did like the whole herding sequence. Like, that's exactly what I thought when I was watching. I was like, oh, they're just shoving them along. And I thought they were shoving them to one place and they're taking them to the tracks. I thought that was coming later, but it is what it is. And we moving along, we get the cut back to the kitchen where Rand and Matt are trying to convince Dana that they need a place to stay, and they don't have much money, but they're willing to work. And she is throwing leftover food from old plates and old drinks all into the soup that the boys just ate. And she chops off half a pig foot and throws it, and I'm like, and Rand's face the whole time, it just looks like he's going to hurl. It's just so great. He just looks just revolted. And I mean, it's very fitting. And Matt's just talking away, trying to sell it. Hey, we need some jobs, work a little for you. And she's just dumping every leftover thing into there. Oh, and when the boys walk in, they get the soup. She says, soup's good today. God. Like, oh, man. And Rand's face is, you can tell he's just like, oh, I just ate that. Like, oh, man. I just thought that was so fantastic. And then they come out and says, all right, just follow me. I need help. Save your money. And we have one of the funniest parts that I've seen in the entire show yet. I lost it laughing so hard at the chopping wood scene and their whole conversation where they're talking about wood and chopping wood, and then Rand notices Matt's gawking at Dana, and he's got the eyes for her, and she's kind of all smiley at him, and he says, a little young for you. I thought Moraine was more your type, like he likes older women or something. And he says, I'll make exception. And Rand says, go grabs the axe, and I was like, come on, let's take turns. And Matt just kind of turns and looks back towards Dana and goes, she thinks she's up for it. And I about blew drink out of my nose laughing. I thought it was one of the funniest things. And then Rand just goes, the wood, Matt, the wood. We'll alternate. And I just lost it so hard laughing right there. I thought it was one of the funniest moments in the show yet. And Barney Harris, man, I'm telling you, you just kill me. Come do a comedy movie after this. Do a comedy movie, and oh my Lord, I will watch it. I will tell everyone to watch it. Just spectacular. And then they kind of get into a little bit of a fight, and Rand's asking me like, what's going on with you? What's wrong with you? Matt's all just sort of pissy and he's just mad at their situation, and it's your fault we're in this situation. So you chop the wood. I'm getting out of here. And he leaves, and he goes inside and tries to talk to Dana and get some alternate work. And we get a nice little book thing here, because in the she says, oh, well, why don't you tell me what you can do? And he says, oh, I try to make it sound like he's better off than he is. And I'm kind of well off back home. I'm a horse trader. And then she just humiliates him. Oh, is there anybody here who needs a horse trader with no horses? And just like, just throws him under the bus. But it was a really nice nod to the books, because in the books, Matt's father is a very, very good horse trader, and he knows horses. And so Matt does know horses. And so this little moment I thought was really cool. And then she just throws him under the bus. And so I don't know if it was just like a really nice nod to, the books, and, because this time it looks like Abel's a bit of a drunk, and he's cheats on his wife, kind of not a very nice guy, and, so it was a nice little nod to hear Matt talk about horse trading. I thought that was a little cool nod. And then she just slays him, and then gives him drinks to go be a barmaid, which I thought was really funny. And then the guys are telling him he was too cute for the mines or something, and he says something about taking his razor and shaving his wife's back or some. Oh my God, it was just Matt just killing it with the humor. He's by far the comedy relief so far, and I can't wait for seasons down the road, because we get introduced to so many great characters that we just haven't had time to meet, and people haven't been to these places to be introduced to them. But there's some really funny stuff that goes on, and there is some really great humor in this. I know some people were saying there wasn't enough humor in it; it wasn't lighthearted enough, but I really think Barney just kills it with that. And you just got to give it time, guys. They just got to let that little snowball roll down the hill. And as it goes down the hill, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it avalanches eventually. And it's just going to be fantastic. So guys, sit back, enjoy that ride. It will get funnier and funnier, and hopefully scarier and scarier. And it'll get more diverse, and the intrigue will go on. Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And we go from the Matt bartending scene, or barmaid, bar backing, barmaiding, whatever, bar server. I don't know, whatever the gender term is for it. He's working the bar, he's working the floor, passing out drinks. And he makes some tips. And then Dana says, oh yeah, he's saving up for something nice, huh? She's just got great humor too, it's and I'd love to see their interplay. It was quite good. It was quite good, the back and forth with them. And then he talks about the riverboat. The fastest way there would be a river, but you're going to need a ton of that, and even more if you want to bring your friend. And that riverboat, when she mentioned that, maybe we see. I'm not expecting this section. It's a section that I really felt could have been cut, and I'm not sure. But I thought that was a cool little nod to the riverboat, and I know it excited a lot of people to possibly see this branch of the story. And then we cut right back to Egwene and Perrin, and they're still walking across the grass, and they're following the tracks, and then Perrin starts freaking out again, and like being all scared. Oh, I'm just going to go up ahead, make sure it's safe, and I know, and then Egwene says that you don't have to protect me, and I know he's still freaking out about burying his axe and his wife, and it, so I'm sure that's part of it. And Egwene knows, and she even says it's not your fault. But for the first time, Perrin looks at her and says, it is. And so he sort of admits it, and I'm hoping that that sort of little admission to Egwene helps lighten it. And I hope that comes up in conversation later on, where that just comes up into a topic. I'm hoping that that's going to get, I don't know, just expanded on a little more, because his wife is new to the story. So that's new Wheel of Time stuff. And I want to know new Wheel of Time stuff. If there's more, I want to read it. I want to know. So I hope they expand on that a little bit, because that was a really like delicate little moment, like, because he's freaking out, and then she's, oh no, don't protect me, but he admits it, and she didn't say anything after that. So I'm wondering if it just sort of went by the way, or if they're gonna conversate on that some more. I think that would be really cool if they did. And then they have this really weird, creepy encounter with the Tuathuan, or the Tinkers. And it was a little weird. Like, I knew who they were, but it was just creepy and weird. Like, and the whole delivery with the asking if they knew the song, it was just really creepy. And like the Tinkers, like he saw when they came on screen, they look like a bunch of hippies. They're like gypsies, they travel the land, and Tinkers, they fix stuff, and they have all sorts of weird rumors about them. And, like Aram said, we'll steal your money and steal your children and all this stuff. And, they're just traveling folk, and they're basically gypsies, and they just wear outrageously colored stuff, and they're very peaceful. And it was a very weird encounter with them. But I liked Aram. I liked the guy that they got to play Aram. Though I'm not sure why everybody's got dreadlocks. Like, I don't know why they all have dreads, but I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's like the Two Rivers braid. I don't know. But yeah, Aram was my favorite part of the Tinkers. And I liked looking through the background at all the stuff was going on, and the colorful clothing and all the bright stripes. And the wagons weren't as bright as I thought they would be, but they were pretty gaudy colored, and they weren't as flashier as bright. They definitely looked like they were travel worn, but they were definitely technicolored yak view of like just mishmash of colors and everything. It was cool to see that. It was cool to finally see the finally get a chance to see the Tinkers and the traveling people. And they're in the books, they have like these huge mastiffs, these big dogs, and the dogs they had were pretty cool. And some of them, they look pretty big. I want to see more with Perrin and Egwene now that they're with the Tinkers. Their storyline for me, it's just much more enjoyable when they're not just walking across open fields and grass with minimal dialogue. It just it's not that it's a bad story. It drives it forward. It just, for me in this episode, it was my least favorite of the timeline. It just really was. And then it kicks over into my favorite part of the entire episode, which is Dana, and like all the interchange between Dana and the boys is just so funny and just so good and off the hip and great. And I love that she's showing them the room that they're going to have, and it's showing them the room, brings them some beers for the work that they did, and some, I let your buddy off an hour ago. I thought he'd be with you, and no, not till all the work's done. And they just had some really great, funny interplay. And then she starts commenting, thinking that Matt and Rand are a couple, and commenting that they're gay. And oh my God, and the slap and tickle comment, holy cow, I just thought it was so funny. And she's like, well, I am not judging. And it was this great little funny moment. And then Rand's like, hey, no. Hey, I don't know. Here, why don't you have Matt's beer, or unless you don't drink on the job. And she's like, yo, all right, schoolboy, let's go. We're going to drink. And I just thought that whole little exchange was pretty fantastic. I thought it was really, really good and funny. And then you see Matt out there standing there staring at the Aiel in the cage, and he's staring at the amethyst on him, hanging off his belt, looking at it, knowing that he could probably get a couple bucks for that. And all of a sudden, Tom says, "What are you doing, boy?" And then they got knives out, and hey, I don't want to hurry. And this little exchange is so awesome. And Matt, with his just every comment out of Matt, and Barney just delivers it so good. I haven't survived Trollocs to be killed by a singer. And Tom just plays it off and walks by like, whatever, kid. Like, I could gut you without a thought. And he even tells him, you bleed out before you can touch me. It was just this awesome little moment. And then Tom goes into this fantastic little exposition about the Aiel and all the little interplay. And he when he's asking Barney Matt what he's doing, and Matt tells him, hey, I'm looking for money, probably doesn't need it if he's got any. And then Tom has this brilliant, like, really sort of understanding, awesome moment. And he just says, well, like, we all have desperate moments, and he just turns around. He just says, let me know when you're done. And, and lets him go. And then, goes and explains the whole thing with the Aiel to him about, the culture and how these guys bragged about killing an Aiel because they were scared. They just didn't understand. And, he pulls up the veil and says, when you're veiled, that's when you got to worry, and if you don't have the veil up, he wasn't going to do anything. And he really like breaks down some awesome Aiel culture and sort of description in a really great sort of non-in-your-face way, just the way he's describing this guy on the ground. And it was really cool because for the people watching the show, there's so many cultures and so many different lands and cities, and they all have their own cultures, and they're all completely realized. And this is another way that shows how worldly Tom is. Like, he knows that Matt is from the Two Rivers right away. From your accent and from the way you talk and from how stubborn you are and he just throws it out. And then he's saying, this guy's from the Aiel, which is on the other side of the, other side of the continent from him, and so Tom is just letting he's very worldly. He's got a lot of knowledge, and the whole scene with them, after they finish, and he says, well, if you're gonna, steal from the dead, at least you can help me bury him. And Matt and Tom have this really great moment where they bury him, and it was really, really solid. It was really, really solid, that whole moment with Tom. Like, I love Tom's introduction. I really do. I think it's pretty fantastic. And I think it's being told in a way that's really engaging for the new viewer and the new audience. And I think it's really engaging for the people that have read the books, that we're getting it spun in a new way. I think it's quite good, whether it's going with your headcanon or not. I think the story's starting to come together quite nicely. I really do. And then, they show him burying the Aiel, and then we cut back over to Dana and Rand, and they're joking around, and, they're leaning in, and Rand kind of leans in. He's telling a story, and then she leans in, tries to lay one on him, and he backs off. And she kind of takes offense by it. Like, you can, oh, shit, I'm sorry, didn't, oh, yeah. Sorry. And then she gets to the door like she's going to leave and throws the curveball into the show. I was not expecting her to be a dark friend. I was expecting her to be like, I don't know. Well, I can't really say these characters without giving them away. I thought she was going to be like a barmaid interest, just a sort of passerby on, somebody they meet in the town. Maybe we see him later on in the show. But no, she says the braid was too much. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, and she says, makes me look too much like her. And then right then and there, you knew it was coming. And then she like tosses Rand around like his little rag doll when he tries to drag his knife out. She slaps it away and then rips the heron marked sword out and pins him against the wall with it. But I mean, she is really nice about it. It would be better if you just sit down. Oh, this is much harder because you're really sweet and all that. But I've already called them. They're already on their way. And you're like, oh no. Then thank you. That's fantastic. And then she goes into the, stop banging on the door, stop yelling. I told you nobody can hear you. And that door is ironwood. 3 men couldn't knock it down. And Rand starts freaking out. And all of a sudden we start getting some weird sounds and Rand hits the door and you see the whole door shake, backs up and hits it again. And the whole thing comes down and Dana's kind of standing there like, wait a minute, that door was supposed to come down. And then they just take off running. And this whole chase with when she starts running is great. And we cut back over to Tom and Matt real quick. Actually, that's before the chase, before he breaks out of the door. But goes back over to Tom and they're finishing up burying the Aiel. And Tom says this really great thing as he's sort of giving the eulogy for the Aiel. He says, may your soul find water and shade. And that's just such a great line because it's right from the Aiel. And for Tom to state that is like, it just shows you how classy he is. And even though he's a little rough around the edges on the show as opposed to the books, but he's real worldly and very, that was just like a really classy thing. And I really appreciated that small little nod. And then, cuts back to Rand and Dana and he breaks the door down and starts running. And when he meets Matt and he grabs Matt, I had to keep pausing this during that chase because the look on their faces while they're running is like, Matt is like terror and sheer confusion. Like he's running for his life because Rand's running for his life, but he has no idea what the hell he's running from. And just seeing them look back and at each other, and that whole sequence is just hysterical. And, Dana's down there just chasing him down. And of course, she grew up there. She knows the town. So yes, she cuts him off, and then we get this amazing little like view from a dark friend's perspective. Like, so what are you doing? Why are you're a dark friend? What are you working for them? And she goes into this big exposition of why, and there's so much pain in the world and all this. And it shows you that how somebody could succumb to becoming a dark friend. Because she says, it's not who I am, it's who I'm going to be. Like she's going to be elevated if she brings these 2 guys to the fate. Like she's going to become somebody. And, darkness promises this stuff, promises you things. And do you get the deal that you think you're getting? Is it like the Aes Sedai where, you don't necessarily hear what you think you hear? Maybe it's the same way, but I mean, she seemed like a decent enough person. And when she's explaining her reasons for being a dark friend, it feels very justified. And then you kind of have that, I don't know, like you throw out good points there, but in the end, she gets shanked right as the boys are going to try to leave. And I love how she does like the Inigo Montoya, the little flourish with the sword right before she gets shanked. Like yeah, we're gonna go. She goes, oh, really? Like indigo. And then all of a sudden, Tom's blade sticking out of her throat, and she's laying in a pool of her own blood. And I thought that it was really cool that Tom took care of it and that it wasn't one of the boys that had to do it. Because it just, once again, it just shows Tom as the man. And he's just like, yo, did you not just hear what she said? Yo, she's a dark friend. She called a fade. I don't know if you want to hang out for him, but, come on around. I'm out of here. Goes over, grabs his knife, says, peace him out. You can join me or you can hang around for better company. And Matt's like, no, come on, Rand. No, he's okay. This dude's okay. Come on, let's go. And he picks up the hair mark blade, and then it just shows Dana just leaking this big pool of blood. And it goes into this amazing fade from the pool of blood into the mountains where we go back to Nynaeve, Lan, and Moiraine. That's by far, that's my favorite fade of the show. As of yet, it was my favorite cutscene so far. I just thought it was brilliant the way that the blood came in and then it just slowly faded out to the mountains. I just thought that was so ingenious and wonderful. And then we get Lan just somehow knew where the Aes Sedai were, but maybe Lan is not our dumb shepherd kids. Like, he's a man of tactics. So, like, I don't understand how he just knew where they were, but I imagine that he probably had information coming from down the road where, like, we see that this group of sisters has caught Logain, the man who proclaims himself dragon. And they've caught him. And this is a change from the books, but I think it's a really great way to steer everybody where they need to go to move the plot along without having to make excess stops and excess episodes along the way. But I wasn't exactly sure how all of a sudden he knew to find him, because he left Nynaeve with Moiraine out in the woods and took off and was like, oh, I'll be back. And I'm sure he went to find them or scout or to go meet an informant that knew where they were, where they were traveling. Because I'm sure Lan's a warder, Moiraine's an Aes Sedai, networks of eyes and ears, and this is another group of Aes Sedai that are traveling with the proclaimed dragon. And so I imagine that they would be able to find them, or they would have a rally point, or at least know the route. So Lan would know the route to take to meet up with them. So when he took off, I imagine he was either going to scout out and actually find them, or he was going to talk to one of his informants about it. It just cuts, so we don't really find out. It's kind of left wide open. But if it were my guess, I would say that he had an idea of where they were, just through word of mouth and gossip, because you hear the boys talking about war in the south in Geldon. And that's in the Two Rivers. I imagine Lan and Moiraine are a little bit more well-informed. So I think that's how he found him so quickly. And they needed to find him so they could get Moiraine to a proper healer. And then the episode just ends on that shot of Logain. So I can't wait to see where we're going to be in episode 4. Guys, thank you for sticking around. And if you like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe. Throw down comments if you got gripes, other things that you found, Easter eggs, any of that. Try not to put spoilers down into the comments if you're going to comment. If you are going to have some kind of spoiler or correlation, put spoiler warning in the top for the comments, just for book stuff. Because this is more for people that are seeing the show for the first time. And don't really know about the Wheel of Time. Those of us that have read it, we know where the story goes. We just don't know this telling of the turning. So, guys, stick around, like, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz, and we will see you for the next episode here on Ji On Wat.